Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen. We have a special episode today, special because we have a whole brand new setup. You can't see it, it's on the background, it's all around the camera, but it's awesome, it's great, I promise. We'll show you some BTS or something later. But you're also getting a nice treat this week. This is the second episode that will be coming out this week. Due to some complications we had with some audio stuff, it got lost somewhere or something. But we found it and it'll be on, I promise. But this week we do have a couple more things, more NBA talk. A little bit, we're gonna catch up a little bit on F1 still. We're gonna talk about it in the episode before this, so we should have already seen it. But it will be great. Let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started.
Whoa, I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce this. My name is Calk. You're back here with Alonsio and Taylor. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, NBA. It's crazy right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. Finals playoffs are around the corner.
Playoffs are around the corner. It's crazy. I'm just gonna fill you in on a little bit of what was going on this time last year. This time last year, Kawhi Leonard was, I think he was in the middle of a 6-game, 30-plus point, performance. He looked polished. He looked like he finally matured to the player we want him to be, now for the Spurs. And, him and Greg Popovich looked like they were going to continue the dominance in the NBA as Greg Popovich has done the last 20 years. Remember, he has 5 championship guys in 20 years. That's once every, 4 years? Am I doing my math right? Once every, I'm sorry if I'm not. But last 20 years, 5 championships, 4, 6, 8, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Yes. Okay, awesome. And then the same thing could be said about James Harden, Mike D'Antoni. James Harden did a phenomenal job for the team last year with Mike D'Antoni, and they were on the rise. They were up on the rise, but they were still just James Harden and the Rockets. And next we got Westbrook broke a decades-old record last year, averaging a triple-double for the entire season. Had the most triple-doubles in NBA history by only beating one, Mr. Oscar Robinson, and Westbrook got 42 last year, and he got MVP. He was the front runner for MVP this time last year. And the Cavs, LeBron was doing this thing with Kyrie. They were bored at this time last year. They couldn't wait for playoffs to start. And yes, I can say that with ease. Why? Because they went 12-1 in the playoffs before they went to the finals. Remember, with only one loss going into the finals.
Wow.
And now, and the only threat to them last year was the Celtics. Isaiah Thomas and their coach Brad Stevens, they were crazy. The number 1 seed, they held that number 1 seed from mid-season and held it to the end. They looked great, and then Isaiah Thomas got hurt in the playoffs, and they kind of slowed down. They did make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's because everybody else was not having it. But I want to get to the most important thing about this time last year. This time last year looks very similar to the Golden State Warriors. This time last year, they were the number 1 seed, but this time they're number 2. But last year, they didn't have KD. They had him on the team, but he was out. It was out through the first round of the playoffs. Didn't play a single game in the first round. This year, Steph is out through, predicted, the first round of the playoffs. And they have a 2nd seed. Now, Golden State, at the end of last year, I'm talking about when they won the finals and everything, they were 16-1 in the postseason. Only lost 1 game, and that was to LeBron James in the finals. 16-1. They looked like the most dominant team for the next 5 to 7, or however long you can keep that much star power on one team. This year, guys, it's a different year from last year. Kawhi Leonard now still hasn't played with the team the entire year. We have all these rumors coming out saying that he might not be with the Spurs, and Greg Popovich was looking like lost with his new team with no superstar on it. We did have LaMarcus, which finally woke up the last couple of games, which is good for the Spurs. But since it's just they don't have anybody. They don't have anybody that you can say that's the guy that's gonna be Golden State. That's the guy that's gonna be Houston. They don't. The Rockets. I'll get to the Rockets right now. OKC now this year they added a Carmelo Anthony and a Paul George with them. They added defense and they added offense to their already superstar MVP Russell Westbrook. And don't forget about Steven Adams. I'm telling you right now, they're a wild card. No, let's get to the Cavs. The Cavs are now without Kyrie this year. But you still have LeBron. Never bet against LeBron. Not in the East, not ever. Not while he's still averaging almost a averaging a double-double every single game in and out, and almost averaging a triple-double this year. They played almost all 82 games. He will be a monster. Come playoffs again. And the Celtics now they still got Brad Stevens. They don't need no Isaiah. They don't need no Kyrie. They don't need no Gordon Hayward. They still got Brad Stevens, the coach, the head coach of the Celtics. And he is doing a phenomenal job, still holding a number 2 seed, even though you don't have Kyrie, and even though you don't have Gordon Hayward. Most importantly, I want to get to this. I'm going to go back to Golden State. They no longer look like the unstoppable team they did, as they did last year. I don't know if it's because of injuries or is it really because the Houston Rockets got good. And that's because of the Houston Rockets that we're having this conversation, that I'm saying these things. Why? Because they have the number 1 seed now. And they added a CP3 to a James Harden MVP candidate and a Coach of the Year candidate, Mike D'Antoni. They added a CP3, a well-known veteran, still coming off his prime years, still doing really well. What a difference a year can make.
Mm-hmm. Year can make a lot. And I don't know. I looked at some of the standings and some of the stats for the league since with the finals and stuff, or well, with the playoffs. I keep saying finals. But with the playoffs and stuff coming up and everything, and I don't know. I think Golden State still has. I don't think they're gonna get eliminated as early as you think they are.
Oh no.
I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna probably wind up at least in the Final Four.
No. I guess you misunderstood me for a bit, because I don't think they're gonna go out early at all. They're not, because like I was saying, they're still a dominant team without one of their superstars. You lose one last year. They didn't have KD throughout the first round, and they won 4 games without losing. They went on to the next round with ease. Obviously, each game is hard, but they won them each and every one of them. So I'm not saying they're gonna get eliminated in the first round or the second round, even if they don't have Steph Curry. Second round possibility, because of teams like OKC, they will not meet Houston in the second round. The only possibility they meet is if it's in the Final Four.
I don't know.
Which is the conference finals.
Stephen Curry is an amazing player, man, and it sucks. And I'm assuming he's out on injury.
He's out on injury. His own teammate fell on it.
Yeah. So I mean, if Stephen Curry can make it back for at least partially into the playoffs or whatnot, or sometime coming into the playoffs or whatever, I hope he gets well fast, because those guys could probably go past the second round, I think.
So do you see them going? Do you see Golden State getting past Houston without Steph Curry?
Without Steph Curry, probably not. No, because the Rockets are doing phenomenal this year. So I feel like that's going to be, if they meet the Rockets, especially early on, that might be their doomsday.
Okay, well, I counter that, because even if they meet the Rockets right now, I still say they put up a 7-game series fight and Golden State still wins without Steph. Yes, I'm saying that. It does not sound ridiculous, because you still got Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green.
I don't know. They've got a tough battle ahead of them. OKC's a great team too, and everything like that. So, and I think the Cavs are gonna do great in the playoffs, even if it is just LeBron. LeBron's a beast, especially in the playoffs. So.
He's going to the finals to me.
Yeah,
he's going to the finals, man. Like, I don't care what DeMar DeRozan has to say, or Kyle Lowry, or Brad Stevens over in the East, because you can't do it without your superstar, and the superstar is LeBron.
Yeah, that's true. If they were to lose LeBron tomorrow, which I hope they don't, the Cavs have no shot.
Oh yeah, I think I'd give it maybe to the Celtics.
I think
if Kyrie comes back.
Celtics, I think, are going to end up in the Final Four. If I were to make a prediction right now from what I know about NBA,
the conference
Final Four,
yeah.
I think you'd have Golden State in there somewhere, OKC in there somewhere. I hope the Spurs, those are my underdog guys, and that's another topic that we got to hit on. And It's like because the Rockets are in the same conference as the Spurs, right?
Yeah. So
and then Golden State and OKC are in the same conference, right?
Yeah, and all 4 of those are in the same conference.
Oh, all 4?
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. So
anyway, I just picked the
easy
final
to see
four for
those
one
4
conference
teams in the second round, though.
Yeah,
that could be your second round right there. It could
True.
literally be like OKC versus Golden State and Spurs versus Houston. Like it could easily be one of those because the standings between 4th and all the way through 8th in the West is literally by a half a game. There's or not even just half games right now. And it's just going to come up to who has the tiebreakers at the end because it looks like nobody's separating between those standings.
And again, the Spurs. Let's talk about them for a moment and their playoff picture. Do you think they're
going to make playoffs? I don't think they're going to miss playoffs, although they're still statistically, mathematically still not in the playoffs. But with only 4 games left after tonight, they play the Lakers tonight. It's Wednesday. I think they will. I think they'll still make the playoffs.
Yeah, and speaking about the Lakers and tonight's game, the Lakers look to try to sweep the Spurs for the season.
We'll see. LaMarcus Aldridge has shot 30 points for 3 of the last 6 games. Is averaging about 30-some the last 10 games.
Yeah, that's what I have here. You're right. LaMarcus Aldridge had a game-high 35 points.
The Lakers are trying to win, trying to prove some stuff. They're young guys, but I feel Popovich and LaMarcus are going to take care of that.
Well, the Spurs are currently, from what I have here, 5th in the West.
They're 5th.
I think they're going to, at the very least, retain that position into the playoffs.
Depends what happens because we have... Who do they got? Who's below them?
I'm not sure. I just have right
OKC's
here.
below them.
I have them in the 5th right now.
It's crazy, man. You just can never tell with the West, dude. Like one year they're at 47, almost 50 wins. The next year, the West, they're at 55 wins between 2nd and 8th place, like 2nd and 7th place. It's crazy, man. It's crazy with the West. You can never predict the West. Why? Because it's crazy. Okay, guys. Oh, update. We just have clinches of playoffs for everybody. So now we all know Toronto and Boston have clinched it, but Cleveland just clinched playoffs. Philadelphia, Indiana, Miami, Washington, all expected. The only one that hasn't clinched is Milwaukee, but they are about 4 games ahead of Detroit. All it means is they have to win 1 more game and they're mathematically in. And when it comes to the West, only the top 3 spots have been clinched. Place 4 through 8, like I said, it's still because even Denver and the Clippers, 9th and 10th place, only the top 8 spots get it. Even Denver and the Clippers are only Denver's dead tie, only half a game behind New Orleans. So that means if New Orleans loses and they win, they're half a game in. And Los Angeles is only a game behind New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And OKC is only a game behind the Spurs.
And those guys are only 2 games behind 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's crazy, guys. With only 4 or 5 games left, it could go anyway right now. These guys shouldn't be messing with anything, and they should get their stuff done, which I do think the Spurs are going to do.
I just know that with the Spurs, I hope like maybe Kawhi Leonard like pulls like some kind of miracle thing, and like right when the playoffs start, he's like, "Guys, I'm back."
I don't know
and
why
they just tear it up at the playoffs.
I mean, hey, that's be a perfect Cinderella story, man, but it doesn't work. This is real life. It doesn't work that way in the NBA. You don't play all year, you're not gonna be good when you come back. Like all these guys they're at the top of the level for a reason.
Yep.
And you gotta be there with them. And now you're gonna have a hard time.
Oh, true. And
it will
that's
be great,
the thing. The Spurs have struggled all season without Kawhi, and
they've had their ups and downs. But at the end of the day, they're still winning 45 games. I mean, 45 to 50 games without Kawhi. But yeah, Kawhi does make that 20-game difference. You can tell. But you want to touch up on some stuff of what's coming up with Formula One?
Yeah. So there was not for Formula One. So there was not a race last weekend.
No.
They skipped a week.
Till the 8th of April.
It's not till this weekend, and I finally knew how to pronounce it as Bahrain. It's Bahrain. It's out in the Middle East.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a very like dry, very warm environment. So the track's probably going to be pretty hot, so we're probably going to see a lot faster times and stuff than over in Australia.
Because
better grip and things
faster,
like that.
yeah.
So I expect it to be an abnormally hot race. I don't know if it will or not, but that could improve lap times and stuff like that.
What are a couple of things you expect to see from these races, from specific races? Like, let's go with the Ferrari team. What do you expect to see from Ferrari?
Ferrari, they're going to be just as competitive as they were for the first race. They're going to be just as competitive as they've been for the past several years. Mercedes and Ferrari are the two big dogs, and they're in the middle of a heated war. Have been for a couple of years now.
You think Bottas can catch up?
I hope so. Team Mercedes needs that for sure. Bottas needs to not crash in qualifying, so he can and so he can move some positions and they can do good as a team, not only individually. It would help Bottas' individual stats because that hurt him bad as a season opener as an individual driver.
Yeah. Finally, who do you think needs? Who do you think needs the biggest win here? Who do you think needs the biggest comeback?
The biggest
from the first race.
From the first race, probably Bottas. Just with that bad wreck in qualifying and stuff, and setting him so far back the grid.
It wasn't team. Who was it that dropped out?
Well, Haas.
Yeah, Haas.
That's another thing. I think
too.
Even though I'm a Mercedes guy and I'm behind Team Mercedes and I'm a little bit on that bandwagon, and go Hamilton. But I'm most excited. The team that I'm most excited for this season, and they showed it in the first race, is Haas, the American team.
Is that with Alonso? No.
No. Alonso races for McLaren.
Okay, McLaren.
And I want to see good things from them.
Spot. They're right in the top 7, top 6.
Yes. Starting out, and they did pretty well. But I still think they could do better.
Me too.
And I want them to do better as well. But after that mid-race dropout from Haas last week due to, again, improperly attached tire. I hope this time they don't suffer from stupid mistakes and they could do as well as they were looking in the first half of last race, if not better this race. Because it was awesome to see a team that from last year set very in the middle of the pack or the back of the pack, setting up there right in the top 5. Like just out of nowhere, out of the blue. And so I hope they continue to do well. And I'm excited to see a competition from a relatively new F1 team that's only been in the league for 3 years come in and finally put some beef on the lower end on some beef on Ferrari and Mercedes. Yeah, and even Team Red Bull. They managed to push out Team Red Bull to the middle of the pack for the most of the race while they were still in it in Australia, because generally Red Bull usually holds that 4-5 spot, because they're probably third out of those top 3 teams. Mercedes and Ferrari are very much like neck and neck, and then you got Red Bull. I
actually just purchased the F1 video game, and that's what you see on the cover is Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull. Like they're on all 3 covers on 15, 16, and 17. Like, it's just those 3 teams on the cover.
How is that? I've never really played an F1 video game.
It was cool. Is it
complicated?
No, it's a little bit. The Super Pro mode, it's like real racing. Like, you gotta hit the clutch, you gotta hit that, you gotta hit this.
They hit those apexes just right.
Yeah, but it is helping me understand more of how this racing works, the point system, how important these where you start these qualifying races are.
You kind of understand, because I know you were struggling with qualifying, being your first race and watching. You're like, why are they doing this? Like what?
No, it's very, they could get it, very so they
important, attach to their position on the start grid for the
you
race.
Don't want to start off 20th.
No, because you've got to fight through 19 other cars. Even though Sebastian Vettel
it's so hard.
Did it?
I did it on the video game, and you get penalized for everything. You get penalized if you don't cut your corners right. You get penalized if you bump a car one too many times. And if you pass somebody illegally, you got a certain time. You got about 3-4 seconds before you go back into position before they penalize you with adding time on your time. Because one thing I've noticed is you also do race against time.
You are
instead of racing for actual this guy finished first, but it's like you're racing for time.
I mean, first and your ending position is very important, obviously for your points. But yes, you're correct. The times are very important as well, because that's driver-specific statistic.
Yep.
You know, that shows like that's like how many points. You know, well, maybe how many points is bad, but maybe like how many rebounds. You know, an NBA player got, or how many assists. You know, that's kind of the equivalent for their points in racing is that time. And then it allows them to be like, yeah, I hold the record in this quadrant of this race, of this circuit, or I own the lap time of this circuit. So they get very individually competitive with that as well. And it's very much important for qualifying because the faster your time, the better your position is on the grid. One last thing I'm going to hit on. ESPN is still a hot topic for the new home for F1 racing, and it's still, people are love it or hate it, and it's mostly hate it. And I did not even though I enjoyed the race, this is definitely a transitional year for F1.
It was my first
and
race.
I hope they they get doing it better. Well, there was some coverage issues that ESPN's broadcast, you know, weird cutaways and just randomly cutting to cars and stuff that are spun out on the track. And
that just happened twice.
Like, you're watching this driver and you're thinking, oh yeah, they're showing the competition for like 5 and 6 and then cut, and Williams is spun out, you know, went from 12th to 15th. And you're like, what?
Or Bottas.
You know,
Bottas.
or during the qualifiers, you're sitting there watching Hamilton and he's leading it, and you're like, yeah, Hamilton's
Bottas
tearing it up.
second.
And then cut away and boom, teammate crash. Like, what? I hope they improve on some things for this upcoming race, and I hope they keep it improving throughout the season.
I'm definitely excited for the rest of the season. For F1 and for the rest of the season of the NBA.
I'm excited for both sports. Like, it's good to have, because
we're in the juiciest part of the NBA right now,
and I can't wait until we get 3 when football season comes back, because that's gonna be real fun. We'll have a momentary, maybe an episode or 2 of 3 sports where we'll have that much of a window.
Well, there's gonna also be baseball and hockey, but you know, we don't really touch on it.
Well, but that's all I wanted to say with F1. If there's any final opinions or anything you wanted to say about NBA or F1,
Kawhi, please stay with the Spurs.
Yeah, please. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it from us. We'll see you next time. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you like what you see. Leave a comment, and you can find us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at 1in_th3_in kitchen. And y'all have a great day.